Deep in the untouched wilderness of Canada's Northwest Territories lies a place shrouded in fear. A place where entire expeditions vanish, and the ones who are found are missing their heads. This is Nahanni Valley, also known as the Valley of the Headless Men. A land of towering cliffs, thick forests, and endless secrets. For centuries, the indigenous Dene people warned outsiders about this place. They called it the Valley of Evil Spirits. They said strange lights move through the trees at night, unseen forces whisper through the wind, and those who enter are never the same again. But the most terrifying part? The bodies. Since the late 1800s, explorers, prospectors, and even experienced mountaineers have gone into Nahanni Valley, only to be found decapitated, their skulls missing, their bodies untouched. Even today, no one knows why. The legend of the valley truly began in 1898. During the Great Klondike Gold Rush, two brothers, Frank and Willie MacLeod, heard rumors of a hidden treasure buried deep within Nahanni Valley. A riverbed filled with gold. The two men, experienced trappers, set off with dreams of fortune. They were never seen alive again. 2 years later, their bodies were found. Both men, still in their sleeping bags, but without their heads. Their camp was untouched. Their rifles lay beside them, unfired. There were no signs of a struggle, no animal tracks, nothing. Their skulls? Gone. The official report? Unknown cause of death. The gold they were searching for? Never found. But the disappearances didn't stop there. As rumors of gold spread, more men entered the valley. And more men disappeared. 1905, prospector Martin Jorgensen was found dead in his cabin. His headless body was lying in the snow. His cabin had been burned to the ground. 1913, two more prospectors vanish. Their bodies are never found. 1926, a trapper's skeletal remains are discovered. No skull. By the 1930s, the name Valley of the Headless Men was whispered in fear. What was killing these men? And why were their heads missing? Not everyone who entered Nahanni Valley disappeared. A few returned. But they were never the same. One prospector, Jack Monroe, spent 3 nights alone in the valley in 1931. On the third night, he woke to a sound outside his tent. It was a whisper, calling his name. But when he opened the tent flap, there was nothing there. He packed his things and fled, never returning to the valley. Another man, Albert File, was obsessed with finding the lost gold. He led 6 expeditions into Nahanni Valley. Every time he entered, he felt watched. Every time he left, he was sick for weeks. He believed the valley was cursed. And in 1959, he vanished. His canoe was found drifting down the river, but his body was never recovered. Theories about the headless corpses range from the logical to the terrifying. Some say it's just wild animals, but wolves or bears don't remove human heads without touching the rest of the body. Some say there's a hidden tribe of killers, protecting their sacred land. But if that's true, why has no one ever seen them? Others believe it's something far worse. A force that doesn't want outsiders there. Even today, those who enter the valley say they feel it. A sense of dread. A pressure in the air. A feeling that they are being watched. The Canadian government has restricted access to large parts of Nahanni Valley. But despite this, people still disappear. In 2005, a survival expert named Jason Carter set out to document the valley's mysteries. He had enough food for a month, GPS tracking, a satellite phone. 2 weeks later, his campsite was found, untouched. His camera, still there. His food, still there. But Jason Carter? Gone. No tracks. No footprints. No explanation. His body was never recovered. And just like the others, his skull was never found. Nahanni Valley is a place of untold secrets. A place where nature is untouched, but something else might be lurking. A place where maps stop and legends begin. Some call it a cursed land. Some say it hides a dark secret. And some believe, if you enter Nahanni Valley, you may never come back. Deep in the Mackenzie Mountains, hidden between massive cliffs and untouched forests, lies a valley that refuses to be tamed. Even today, maps barely acknowledge its existence. The Dean people, the original inhabitants of this land, have always avoided it. They call it Nahanni, meaning the land of the spirits. For centuries, they have told stories of giant beings that roam the mountains, creatures that watch from the cliffs, waiting for those foolish enough to enter. They claim the land is not meant for humans, that those who step inside are never seen again. European explorers heard the warnings, but they didn't listen. They came looking for gold, adventure, and riches beyond imagination. Instead, they found death. Running through Nahanni Valley is a river unlike any other. The South Nahanni River is wild and unpredictable. It carves through towering canyons, creating massive waterfalls over 300 feet high. But something about this river feels wrong. The water is warm, even in winter. Steam rises from it at night, giving the valley an eerie glow. The local tribes believe the river is alive, and that it hungers. They tell of strange lights floating above the water, and of people who hear voices calling their names. If you follow the voice, you never return. The first recorded outsiders to enter the valley were fur traders in the early 1800s. They were never heard from again. When search parties were sent, they found only wrecked canoes, but no bodies. By the mid-19th century, rumors began to spread. Prospectors searching for gold in the nearby Klondike region heard whispers of a hidden treasure buried in the valley. A gold deposit, worth millions. But no one who went looking ever came back. Then came the MacLeod brothers. In 1898, during the height of the Klondike Gold Rush, two brothers, Frank and Willie MacLeod, set out to find fortune. They were skilled woodsmen, experienced trappers, not the kind of men who got lost easily. For months, they followed the whispers of gold, deeper and deeper into Nahanni Valley. They never returned. 2 years later, a search party found their camp. Their canoe was intact, their supplies untouched. But the MacLeod brothers? Dead. Both of them were still in their sleeping bags. Both of them were missing their heads. Their rifles lay beside them, unfired. There were no signs of struggle. No animal tracks. No footprints leading away. Their skulls were never found. The official cause of death? Unknown. The valley had claimed its first recorded victims, and it would not be the last. Over the next 30 years, more men would enter Nahanni Valley. And more men would never leave. 1905, a prospector named Martin Jorgensen built a cabin deep in the valley. Months later, a trapper found it, burned to the ground. Jorgensen's headless body lay in the ashes. 1913, two prospectors set out to map the region. They were never seen again. 1926, another search party found a headless skeleton near the riverbank. By the 1930s, the stories of the headless corpses had spread. The valley was no longer just a mystery. It was a curse. Few people who enter Nahanni Valley ever return. And those who do, bring chilling stories. One of the most terrifying accounts comes from Jack Monroe, a seasoned trapper who ventured into the valley in 1931. On his first night, he heard something moving outside his tent. A whisper, calling his name. He thought it was the wind, until he stepped outside and saw something standing at the tree line. A dark figure, motionless. When he blinked, it was gone. The next morning, Monroe packed his things and left. He never returned to Nahanni. People have tried to explain the headless bodies in many ways. But every theory only raises more questions. Keycap 1, wild animal attacks. Wolves and bears are common in the area. But animals don't remove heads and leave the rest of the body untouched. 2. Secret of tribe. Some believe an unknown indigenous group is protecting the valley, but no one has ever seen them. 3. A serial killer. Could the deaths be the work of a single person? If so, why would it continue for over a century? 4. Supernatural forces. Many Dean legends describe the valley as a cursed land. Strange lights, whispers, and figures seen in the mist suggest something not human. But perhaps the most terrifying theory is that Nahanni Valley is not of this world. In the 1960s, the Canadian government declared Nahanni Valley a national park and quietly restricted access to large areas. Why? What did they find? And why does no one talk about it? Some believe the valley holds a scientific anomaly so dangerous that the world isn't ready to know. Others believe the government knows exactly what is happening there, and they want to keep it a secret. Many people today are fascinated by the mystery. Some want to solve it. Others just want to survive it. If you ever find yourself in the Northwest Territories of Canada, and you hear the whispers of gold, if you see the twisted trees, and feel the valley pulling you in, ask yourself one question. Do you really want to know what happened to the men who never came back? For centuries, the Nahanni Valley has been a place of death and disappearance. Yet, despite the warnings, despite the countless men who never returned, people still come here. Why? Because of gold. Somewhere in this cursed valley is a fortune beyond imagination. And those who seek it often find something else. The Dean people were the first to speak of it. A gold-rich riverbed, hidden deep within the valley, a place so full of treasure that a man could simply reach into the water and pull out nuggets of pure gold. But the Dean never took the gold. They believed it was cursed, that anyone who disturbed it would never escape the valley. They warned the early trappers and fur traders. But greed is stronger than fear. When gold was discovered in the Klondike in the late 1800s, thousands of prospectors traveled through Canada's rugged wilderness. Among them were those who heard whispers of the hidden gold of Nahanni. And they went looking. Few returned. One of the first to disappear was John O'Brien, an experienced prospector. In 1905, he set out to map the region, alone. Months passed. Then, his body was found sitting next to his campfire. His hands were clenched around his rifle, his face twisted in terror. He had no wounds, no injuries, nothing. It was as if something had scared him to death. The locals had only one explanation. The valley took him. After the MacLeod brothers' gruesome deaths, other prospectors still came looking for gold. In 1913, another group of 3 men entered the valley. They had maps, supplies, weapons. They were prepared. They never came back. Search teams scoured the valley for 2 months. They found the men's canoe, their rifles, their tools. But not their bodies. To this day, they remain missing. Not all of them vanished. Some were found. And their fates were just as disturbing. In 1917, a trapper named Martin Jorgensen built a small cabin deep in the valley. He wrote letters to his family, telling them he had found gold. In his last letter, he wrote one sentence: "Soon, I will be rich." He was never heard from again. A year later, a passing trapper found Jorgensen's cabin, burned to the ground. And Jorgensen's body? Headless. His skull was never found. Whatever killed him didn't want him to leave with gold. In 1928, a group of 6 men set up camp near the South Nahanni River. They were gold prospectors, hunting for the lost vein of gold. They built shelters. They set traps. They were ready to stay for weeks. Then, one morning, another group of trappers passed through their camp. The fire was still burning. Food was still on the plates. Their rifles were leaning against the trees. But the men were gone. Not a single footprint, no tracks leading away, no signs of struggle. Just emptiness. They were never seen again. Why do so many men disappear? Why are the bodies headless? And what happens to the ones who are never found? There are theories, but none of them explain everything. One, the hidden tribe theory. Some believe there is a secretive, undiscovered tribe living in the valley. A group that protects the land and will kill anyone who dares enter. But if that's true, where are they? No one has ever seen them. No settlements have been found. No traces of life. Just disappearances. Two, the cave system theory. The Nahanni Valley is filled with massive cave systems, some of which have never been fully explored. Some believe the prospectors fell into hidden underground tunnels. But then, where are their remains? How did they lose their heads? And why were some found inside their sleeping bags, untouched? Three, The supernatural theory. Indigenous stories speak of giant spirits that roam the valley. Creatures that don't want humans there. And then there are the lights. People describe glowing orbs of light floating through the trees. Sometimes green. Sometimes blue. Sometimes they follow people. And those who chase the lights are never seen again. In 1964, the Canadian government declared Nahanni Valley a protected national park. They restricted access to most of it. They don't want people going too deep. But why? Are they hiding something unnatural? Something dangerous? Or do they already know the truth? That Nahanni Valley is a place humans were never meant to enter. Many men have entered the valley with dreams of fortune. They believed they could beat the curse. They believed they would be the ones to escape with gold. They were wrong. Today, the lost gold of Nahanni remains undiscovered. And those who look for it often don't come back. If you ever find yourself in the Northwest Territories, and you hear whispers in the trees, if you see strange lights flickering in the mist, and if you feel a pull deep inside you, like something is calling you forward, turn around. Leave. Or you might become the next lost soul of Nahanni. Nahanni Valley is more than just a place of disappearances. It is a place that watches. A place that knows when you enter. And for those who stay too long, it lets them know they are not welcome. Many who enter Nahanni describe the same thing. An overwhelming sensation that they are being watched. It begins as a tingling on the back of the neck. A feeling that something lurks behind the trees, just out of sight. Some describe hearing whispers, voices calling their names. But when they turn around, nothing. No movement. No footprints. Just the endless silence of the valley. And then comes the fear. Fog is common in Nahanni. But this fog is different. Trappers and explorers describe it as unnatural, intelligent. It moves against the wind. It follows people. Sometimes, it even forms shapes, as if something is hiding inside. A prospector in 1938 told of a night when he was surrounded by the mist. He couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. Then, he saw a figure standing inside the fog. It had no face. And as he turned to run, he heard a whisper. Leave. He never set foot in the valley again. For decades, strange glowing orbs have been seen floating through the valley. People describe them as dancing, moving with purpose. Never random. Always watching. A trapper in 1941 followed a green light through the forest. It led him deeper and deeper away from his camp. Suddenly, the light vanished. And he realized he was lost. It took him 3 days to find his way back. And when he did, he was never the same again. He refused to say what he had seen in the mist. But every night, before bed, he would lock his doors and stare out the window as if something was still watching him. In 1969, a small plane carrying 4 men flew over the Nahanni Valley. They were experienced pilots. The weather was perfect. Then, they disappeared. There was no distress call. No emergency landing. Just silence. Search teams scoured the valley for weeks. Nothing. No wreckage. No bodies. No sign that the plane had ever existed. Then, 3 months later, a single seat cushion washed up on the riverbank. No blood. No damage. Just one piece of the plane, as if the rest had been erased. Electronic failures are common in the valley. Compasses spin wildly. GPS systems fail completely. One researcher in 1983 tried to map the region using a high-tech navigation system. It worked perfectly before he entered the valley. Then, nothing. The screen turned black. The battery drained in seconds. As if something was draining the energy, deliberately. He returned to camp. When he checked his equipment the next morning, everything worked again. Except, his watch was 6 hours behind. Many campers in Nahanni report hearing the same thing. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, circling their tents. But when they look outside, no one is there. In 2002, a group of hikers set up camp near a riverbed. That night, one of them woke up to the sound of breathing outside his tent. Heavy. Deep. Like something huge, standing just inches away. He stayed completely still. Minutes passed. Then, the breathing stopped, and the tent collapsed in on itself. When the group woke the next morning, they found massive footprints leading away from the camp. Footprints that disappeared into the fog. In 2018, a documentary crew set out to film in Nahanni. They set up cameras overnight to record any movement. The first few hours, nothing. Then, at exactly 3:21 a.m., the camera caught something moving between the trees. A tall figure, blacker than the darkness around it. It stood still for nearly 2 minutes. Then, it turned its head, and the camera shut off. When they checked the footage the next morning, everything after 3:21 a.m. was corrupted. Those who enter Nahanni don't always disappear, but many of them leave changed. They describe restless sleep, nightmares, the sensation of being followed. Some claim to hear whispers in their homes, long after leaving the valley. One woman, after hiking through the region in 1995, claimed she would wake up every night to see a tall shadow standing in the corner of her room. For months, she ignored it. Then one night, she woke up to find her bedroom door wide open, and the shadow was gone. She moved to another city the next week. She never went back to Nahanni. Theories about Nahanni's watching presence vary. Some believe it is a force of nature, an ancient energy reacting to intruders. Others believe it is something more intelligent, something that knows when you are there, something that waits and watches. Many people have gone into the valley. Some return. Some don't. But all of them bring something back. A feeling. A whisper. A presence that never truly lets go. If you ever stand at the entrance of Nahanni Valley, if you hear something whisper your name, if you feel something watching from the trees, ask yourself one question. Do you want to know what's looking back? For centuries, something has been hidden in Nahanni Valley. Something powerful. Something dangerous. And those who get too close disappear. Long before prospectors and explorers came to Nahanni, the Dean people told stories about the land. They called it the Valley of the Headless Men. A place where people vanished, or worse. A place where shadows moved on their own. And a place where something waited in the caves. Nahanni is home to one of the largest cave networks in Canada. Caves so deep that no one knows where they end. In 2006, a team of geologists tried to map one of the largest cave systems. They set up a rope system and descended. 100 feet. 200 feet. Then their radios went dead. The team at the surface heard static, then silence. For 12 minutes. Nothing. Then they heard screaming. When the team was pulled back up, they refused to speak about what happened. They left the valley that night and never returned. In 1999, a park ranger reported seeing something impossible. A cave entrance, glowing red hot, as if something was burning inside. But there was no fire. No smoke. Just heat. So intense, it warped the air. The ranger took one step closer and heard a voice. Not human. He ran and never went back. In 1962, an archaeological team discovered something bizarre in the Nahanni Mountains. A massive pile of bones. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Animal bones, mixed with human remains. Some were ancient. Others were recent. And some skulls had no jaws. There are parts of Nahanni that no one is allowed to enter. Even experienced researchers and explorers are denied access. The government claims it's for safety reasons. But some believe they are hiding something. Something buried deep within the valley. In the 1950s, during the height of the Cold War, strange military operations were spotted in Nahanni. Helicopters, unmarked vehicles, men in radiation suits. No one knows what they were doing. But shortly after, reports of strange lights, missing time, and unnatural sounds increased. As if something had been disturbed. In 1978, a team of researchers conducted a deep energy scan of the valley. They reported detecting anomalous energy fields, stronger than anything found naturally on Earth. They planned to publish their findings. But before they could, the study was shut down. Their funding disappeared. And the lead scientist, he vanished 3 months later. Many who camp in the valley report the same thing. The feeling of being watched. Some describe seeing glowing eyes in the darkness. Yellow. Red. Blinking, but never moving. When they shine their flashlights, there's nothing there. But the moment they turn away, the eyes return. Hunters in the region have long spoken of a strange creature. Something big, powerful, unseen. They call it the silent stalker. It moves through the valley, but leaves no footprints. It makes no sound. Except when it wants you to hear it. Many trappers report waking up at night to heavy breathing outside their tents. But when they look outside, there is nothing there. Only the feeling that something was just standing there. People still go missing in Nahanni. Hikers, explorers, scientists. They enter, but they don't always leave. The Canadian government doesn't talk about it. The news rarely covers the cases. But every year, more people vanish. And those who come back are never the same. There are places in the world humans were never meant to enter. Places where something ancient still lingers. Something watching. Something waiting. Nahanni is one of those places. If you ever find yourself standing at its edge, if you hear a whisper calling your name, if you see eyes in the darkness, blinking, watching, waiting, turn around, leave, and never go back. After centuries of legends, after decades of disappearances, after endless warnings, one question remains. What is Nahanni Valley hiding? Nahanni is not just a place where people vanish. It is a place that changes those who survive. Hikers who return often describe restless sleep, strange dreams, and the feeling of being followed. Some say they see shadows in their homes. Others wake up outside, with no memory of how they got there. One man, who explored Nahanni in 1993, claimed he would wake up every night at exactly 3:14 a.m. It didn't matter what city he was in. Didn't matter if he set an alarm. 3:14 a.m. Every night. As if something was still watching him. Some scientists believe Nahanni is a natural energy vortex. A place where the fabric of reality itself is weaker. Where time doesn't work the same way. Where people step into another place and never come back. In 2017, a group of geophysicists placed motion cameras at multiple sites in the valley. At exactly 4:17 a.m., one camera captured something bizarre. A figure walking through the trees. They compared the footage to the previous night and realized something impossible. The same figure had been recorded 5 nights in a row, wearing the same clothes, moving the same way, as if it was trapped in time, as if the valley had taken a piece of the past and replayed it forever. With so many missing people, so many unexplainable events, why does the Canadian government say so little about Nahanni? Why are parts of the valley restricted? Why were scientific studies shut down? Some believe the truth is too dangerous to reveal. That Nahanni holds something powerful. Something better left undiscovered. But one thing is clear. Someone doesn't want the world to know what's in Nahanni. In 2021, an experienced solo explorer entered Nahanni. He was a survival expert, a trained navigator. He left behind a series of scheduled satellite messages. For 5 days, everything was normal. Then, on the 6th day, nothing. His last message simply said, "Something is out here. Search teams found his tent, his gear, his food. But no sign of him. No footprints. No tracks. As if he had simply vanished. So, after everything, the strange lights, the missing planes, the shadows in the fog, the government secrecy, the survivors who never talk. What is the truth? Is Nahanni haunted? Is it a portal? Or is it something else entirely? Something we were never meant to understand. And if that's the case, maybe the real question isn't what is hiding in Nahanni. Maybe the real question is, why do we keep looking? If you ever stand at the edge of the valley, if you ever hear the wind whisper your name, if you ever feel the air shift behind you, and the trees start to move, turn around, leave, and whatever you do, don't look back.